The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson.
And I'm Shannon Penrod. And
hello, my friend.
Here with
How are you?
My friend. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Loving that new haircut.
Oh yeah, I got my hair chopped up.
Doesn't she look fabulous, everybody?
Thank you.
I'm severely jealous because it looks all precision-y and I look like Brillo Pad again.
No,
I need to go and get my head shaved and just say enough.
Okay.
And maybe wear wigs or turbans. I don't know. Maybe
Wigs would be good.
Some wigs I can pull off and others I cannot. So,
Right.
we still haven't figured Halloween out. Have you
Yes.
guys written and told us?
We haven't. Have we gotten any write-ins for what we
We have
should
not
be?
gotten any write-ins.
Okay, I'm looking at my hair here.
I do have a suggestion for you when nobody is listening.
Okay. Yeah, we don't want to give it away.
No, it's a surprise.
Of course not.
In any case, we got big show for you today.
Yes,
Oh,
we
my
have.
gosh.
We're going to start with Ilana Gerschlowitz,
I believe.
who wrote Saving My Sons. And this woman is a real powerhouse. She, when her first son was diagnosed, she dove in and did everything possible, including ABA. Then her second son was born neurotypical. And then her third son was on the spectrum, and they effectively recovered him.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting journey and lots of perspective from therapists in the book and other experts.
It
And
made me cry. Did it make you cry?
yeah, it did.
Yeah, but also I enjoyed the triumph with her of, anyway, it's beautiful. Ilana Gerschlowitz is going to be joining us live in just a little while. But we also have Vince Redmond, licensed and marriage family therapist, and he's going to be talking with us about a very specific subject that I think is hard for a lot of us. Knowing, especially in ABA, when to push our kids and when is too much. Because I think a lot of us are very protective. I know I am accused and found guilty of this, that I spend a lot of time wanting to keep my son safe. And yet, we want our kids to progress.
Right.
And the line of knowing when to push and when not to is a very hard line. And so we're going to talk about that with licensed marriage and family therapist Vince Redmond. Before that, we've got a couple of news stories and one that I think feeds into what we were just talking about. I think everybody is well aware of Sesame Street, what that is, and the character Julia on Sesame Street. We've actually had Julia and the actress who portrays Julia on the show. And that was great fun. We've all been thrilled to see some of the fallout that has come from having a character on Sesame Street who identifies as being on the spectrum. But now today, this week, a very prominent autism group called the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network has decided that it will cut ties with Sesame Street over some new PSAs that have come out that are in conjunction with Autism Speaks. And so the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network has said that, they're no longer going to be affiliated with Sesame
They're saying
Street.
it's not the ads themselves, it's where they're directed to from the ads.
That, for instance, asking that it gives the information that if parents want help and support, they can go to Autism Speaks website and get the 100-day kit.
Which encourages parents. This is the crux of the matter here, is that It contains, according to the Self-Advocacy Network, stigmatizing view of life with a child on the spectrum. The 100-Day Kid encourages parents to blame family difficulties on their autistic child and to view autism as a terrible disease from which their children can get better. It recommends compliance-based therapies and pseudoscientific autism diets, but fails to educate families about communication support. It even instructs parents to go through the 5 stages of grief after learning that their child is autistic, as they would if the child had died.
You know, and it's hard. I said to you beforehand, this is a really hard one for me because, you know, I always want to listen to what the self-advocates have to say. It would be impossible for me to completely agree with everything that every self-advocate ever says, because there would be no group that I would agree with everything that they say, right? We all have our perspectives and the way that we see things. And I don't know about you, Nancy, but I'm always going to be looking at things first as the point of view of a parent whose child was diagnosed with autism. As much as I want to put myself in their shoes, that is always going to be the first place from which I come. So I like to listen, I like to hear, I like to weigh, I like to try things on, and I think I've come a long way, but I'm never going to get to the point where I'm going to say that parents shouldn't help their children to make strides. And I would love to find a way that we can do that without anybody feeling stigmatized.
Right.
I would love, I've offered this before and I'm going to offer it again on the air, if there's a self-advocate who's out there right now who would love to see ABA, good quality ABA, in practice to see what it does as opposed to what you think it does. Because there's lots of ABA out there and not all of it is good, right? If you are open-minded enough that you would be willing to watch the ABA that I'm talking about, I will happily make that happen for you. I will make a circumstance, I will find a way to come to where you are and find good quality ABA there and get people to sign releases so that you can watch it. I will make that effort because I do feel like when they say, oh, well, ABA bad, they're talking about this thing over here. And when I say ABA good, I'm talking about this thing over here.
Right.
And we're not even talking about the same thing.
Right.
So I put that out there. This makes me sad. Obviously, I respect their right to make this decision for themselves, but it makes me sad because someday I would like for us to all get enough on the same page that the world could see a united autism community on a couple of things. That we're all wanting progress, right? We may not agree about a lot else, but anyway, it makes me sad.
Makes me sad too.
Yeah. Okay. But you can read more about that if you would like to. It's all over the web. And you can look up the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network and find out more about them if you're interested in what they have to say about that.
Here's a good story coming out of Seminole, Florida. Repair cafes helping adults with autism develop job skills for free. It's called Earth to Autism. They're hosting repair cafes. It works like this. People in the community bring in items they need to have repaired, like bikes, appliances, clothing, and jewelry. Then the nonprofit does the repairs for free, guiding adults with autism through the process.
Now, have you ever been to a repair cafe?
No, I have not. Have you?
Well, I haven't, but they used to have them where we used to live, and I kept saying I wanted to go. We have this one fabulous lamp that was given to us as a wedding gift, and I've had 2 electricians try to fix it. They can't fix it, and I believe if I took it to a repair cafe, and they're wonderful. Usually it's like you donate a small amount of money to a charity or something like that. I love that this is free, and what a great way to be teaching people that are on the spectrum a skill, because there are craftsmen usually come to these things and donate their time, and they're people who know how to put things together and take them apart. Now, my son was always somebody who was interested in taking things apart. Did Wyatt ever go through that phase?
No, he didn't.
So, there was a time when that would have been my son's favorite thing, to sit there and learn, oh, that's how you fix that electrical thing. Now he does it in robotics, but, I think this is a lovely thing.
Great
I hope
idea.
it takes off. But if you're in Seminole, Florida, you can find out more about it at 727-710-0649 to find out more about it so that you can go and do that. Okay, and then lastly, we have from the Mighty, We love the Mighty, and they are featuring this week a wonderful letter written, and it is to dear person with autism who is starting college. And I just thought this was really lovely. We're not going to take the time to read you the whole thing here, but I thought it was just a really lovely letter about how much work it took to get there, and it's from a person who says, I understand completely. They identified themselves as saying, I am autistic and just finished my second semester of college. And to sum up my thoughts about my experience thus far, I'd say it has not been easy, but it has, without a doubt, been worth it. Mm-hmm. But some tips here about getting access to services and utilizing them and not feeling bad about using them. And how it's individual. Mm-hmm. It's not one size fits all. But one of the things that I have learned over the years is that I'm 100% clear now. Joanne Laura has drilled it into my head that everyone deserves the dignity of a job. Mm-hmm. Everyone. Mm-hmm. And this was news to me because I would meet parents and, they would talk about their adult children. And if you ask them, does your child work? A lot of times they would say, oh, no, that wouldn't be possible for my child. And I took that at face value. That seemed reasonable to me. And Joanne was like, no. We got to change the thinking on that. These kids can work. There's different jobs. And not only that, they deserve the dignity of it. And I really, really see that now. But the other thing that my eyes keep getting more and more open to is how many college experiences there are for our kids all over the spectrum that are available to them. And
I'm going to be looking into those for Wyatt.
And, we can take this whole next year and have you report on things that you find, because I keep uncovering more and more things and going, I didn't know about that. Just was on the phone last night with a parent who was, saying we're at the cliff.
Right.
And I was like, well, at least there is more now than there was before. Right. Right? We're not
What were they
yet.
planning on doing?
That's the thing. They, the plan, there is not a plan in place, because the plan that they had is not working. So I don't want to disclose too much, but it's like, and you could feel the stress of that.
Oh, yeah.
That, this was plan A, it was the only plan A, and plan A is not working out, and the realization that plan A is not working out, that's tough.
Yeah, you don't want your kid just sitting on the couch all day and playing video games.
Yeah, no.
This is something that is not, a solution.
And Temple Grandin has been saying this for a long time, that it starts in the teen years, too, and that we can't just have kids be in the basement and be on video games. We have to ask them to make a video game or ask them to put together a portfolio or whatever it is that the kid is interested in and that really interested in, that we put together some sort of archival portfolio. Now everybody has digital digital portfolios. I'm in the dark ages.
Me too.
But in any case, so that's our news for today. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with Ilana Gerschlowitz, the author of Saving My Sons. Boy, if you want to meet a superhero mom, we've got her for you. I'm in a little bit of awe after reading this, aren't you? I've known Ilana for many years.
Very determined and very.
But I had no idea whatsoever all the things that she had been through. So stick with us. She's going to come to us from South Africa live. We'll be right back after these messages.
Do you provide care services to someone with autism? Recently, more and more children are being diagnosed with the condition and getting the support they need as awareness grows. But what happens to these children as they grow up? It's estimated that over 500,000 youth with autism will turn 18 in the next decade, and they'll be faced with a very difficult reality. As children with autism grow up, their services start to disappear or become very difficult to access. Things like medical care, mental health counseling, vocational training, and more. All services that are still desperately needed. The loss of support that youth with autism face as they grow up is so severe that it's referred to in the autism community as falling off a cliff. Adults with autism need the same level of support they had as children, to avoid falling off the surface's cliff. Introducing Skills Living, the web-based software designed specifically to help transitioning youth and adults with autism so they can avoid the cliff and instead fly to success. With Skills Living, help your learner with autism develop the skills they need in all the critical areas of adult life, including self-control, planning, and problem-solving, effective communication, performing life skill tasks for independent living, acquiring and maintaining employment or other meaningful activities, developing and maintaining social skills and relationships, accessing transportation and public services, and being safe. Skills Living includes a comprehensive assessment, a data collection mobile app, behavior intervention plan builder, and automatic progress reporting. It also provides a complete curriculum addressing 16 key areas, spanning the entire range of functioning adulthood. Skills Living is easy to use and can be implemented by schools, parents, and autism service providers. Call or click today for your free demo and see how Skills Living can help your learner with autism avoid the cliff and instead reach their fullest potential. Skills Living. Wish, learn, become.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hi, Lisa Ackerman from Taka here to do some more cooking. Are you ready? Allergy-friendly fun, and I've got a guest.
I'm Jamie Davis. Yes, I'm her sister.
Today we're all about cooking something really fun and healthy. That's a dessert. We're going to actually use carrots, real carrots, and we're going to talk about how to make the best tasting carrot cake you could ever hope for. So it's really easy. You don't want to buy the carrots that are the baby carrots. Why?
Well, those aren't really carrots. What they do is they take carrots, they mush them all up, they take whatever the carrot looks like, they throw it in a bin, they bleach them, and they process them, and then they have a little machine that makes them into little formed baby carrots. So really not born that way.
So this is what a carrot really looks like?
Yeah.
Awesome. Good to know. So I just want to show everybody how to make really simply. We just washed off the carrots. They were really dirty from the farmer's market. And we're going to throw them in to our food processor. So what's good about the food processor is that we can go for a really fine grade. So I'm going to go ahead and add the 3 cups of carrots. Then the next thing I'm going to pull in is our gluten-free, casein-free flours. I'm using a protein-based flour. Bob's Red Mill is great. I also have my flaxseed meal and pure cane sugar, that's organic. I cut it down already, so you don't need to cut it again.
And one of the reasons why we like to use organic sugar is because, once again, most sugars on the market are bleached to make them look perfect.
Yeah, we don't like perfect.
No.
We like ours.
That's why we like each other.
All right, so we've added our baking soda, baking powder, xanthan gum, nutmeg, and salt. Now, again, why we use the gums is that's the ingredient that actually holds the flour together. Regular flour automatically has that gluten. This is the replacement to the gluten. These are the secret ingredients for the cake itself. 3/4 cup of the crushed pineapple is in there. That gives it a beautiful texture and flavor. And now what I'm using is the oil. What are your favorite oils, Jamie?
I like using coconut oil any chance I
Yes.
get. In fact, coconut oil would be excellent in a carrot cake.
Now what I did was I reserved a little bit of the oil and we placed it in the bottom of that pan so it doesn't stick.
Yep.
But we love the baking stones.
Yes.
Why do we love the baking stones?
Evenly cooks
Yes.
and easy cleanup.
If you like crispy, you got to get a baking stone. I also feel that they're less toxic. So now I'm going to cook this thing at 350 for about 35 minutes. You really want to get it golden. Let's get it in there. Awesome. So now that we got our cake all done, let's get on with the frosting. Coconut oil, probably the best thing in the world you can eat. It's so good for your brain. It's one of the best oils that we can use. So I'm going to use 1/3 cup of the coconut oil. And then we're going to do 1 teaspoon of an organic vanilla, Madagascar, and make sure it's alcohol free. And then what we're going to do is add 16 ounces of organic powdered sugar And we're going to add our 4 to 6 tablespoons of coconut milk. I'm using the whisk version here on the KitchenAid, which will give it a nice mix. All right, so if you get any on the sides, you just come on in with your little spatula. And this makes the best frosting for the cake. So we're almost done whipping it up. And voila, we are talking good stuff right here. We have the best situation for the best birthday cake, especially if you want to deal with something that perhaps has a little less sugar. You've got a great cake that no one will know the difference. I'm not a decorator. I don't like to decorate. I just want to eat it, and I don't care what it looks like. Ask my family. I'm a family with autism. I just want to eat the cake. Are you ready to do this? It can be your birthday. Yay! So to me, this is so good. It's meant to be gooey, as you can see. But what I love about this is a great birthday cake with extra frosting to make your kids happy. A little less sugar and a lot of love. So if you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us at autismlive@gmail.com, and on Facebook, Facebook.com/autismlive. And then you can reach me and Jamie and get some more ideas from the Taco recipe side. So let's have some more cake.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back.
We're so excited. This is such a thrill for us because we have joining us via Skype and WhatsApp, the two together, Ilana Gerschlowitz. And Ilana, am I slaughtering how you pronounce your name?
You did a really good job, Shannon.
Okay.
There you are. Can I just say that this is, she is such an inspiration to me.
Yes.
And for those of you who are about to read her book, and I encourage you to, her book, Saving My Sons, is out right now, and she will be a hero to you if you read this book. Talk about an amazing mom. I had the pleasure of meeting Ilana, excuse me, I don't know, like 8 years ago. In this format. We've never gotten to be in the same room together.
Right.
But she is one powerful mom and a force to be reckoned with. And boy, I knew that before reading the book, but having read the book now.
Right.
Whoo! I want to be you when I grow up, Ilana.
Well, Ilana, let's start with, first of all, why did you write the book?
I wrote the book because I wanted other parents whose children were now receiving an autism diagnosis to have a roadmap and a way forward. They are now where I was 15 years ago, and I wanted to help them so that they had the information they needed to make the choices, because there's so much information out there, and I wanted them to know that autism need not be a lifelong disability.
Right. Now, you start with the journey of your son, David. Tell us a little bit about David and how you knew he had autism and what you decided to do, because that's where it all began.
Yeah.
David was our first child, and with a firstborn, you're still learning to be a mother. Everything's the first time. It's the first fever. It's the first time you're experiencing the developmental milestones. But I realized early on that David wasn't developing on target. He was for a period of time, and then there was an interruption in his development. I can clearly remember that he stopped playing peekaboo. He started running in circles, and he just vanished into his own world. We would call his name repetitively, and he wouldn't respond. And I started to, as a first-time mother, the last thing you think is that there's something serious wrong. You don't think autism, but I took him to an occupational therapist, speech therapist, doctors, and no one could really make the diagnosis. I was researching, and I'd read about autism, and I had become increasingly concerned that he did have an autism diagnosis. It was very, very worrying in those early months when we were searching for answers.
So once he was finally diagnosed, where did you go from there?
When he was diagnosed, it was as if we had received a life sentence, autism. Goodbye and good luck. Accept it, take him home, make him comfortable, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners have experienced this as well. You know, he has autism. These children don't speak. These children don't achieve. Take out an insurance policy, and you have to accept it. This is what it's going to be. I was not prepared to give up on my son. I wouldn't accept that there was nothing that we could do. And I started researching, looking for solutions. I just refused to believe that this was the end of the road. So my first step was to do my own research.
And you talk in the book about the fact that doing research was something that came naturally to you, that your background was such that you knew how to research. And I'm so inspired by your journey and the things that you did. You didn't just research, Ilana. When you found something, you decided you would talk directly to the person. There was a part in the book when you said, I just decided I wasn't going to talk to secretaries. I was going to talk to whoever the source was to get the information. Is all of that because of your lawyer background, or is that the way you were raised? We all need to be this way.
I think it was the way I was raised, but definitely my legal background helped as well. I was just so sure that there was going to be something I could do. I felt it in my bones. I felt it in my gut, and I just knew I had to fight for my son. It wasn't easy to do, but I knew I had to do it.
Well, and one of the things that I loved the book, Ilana, you must know that. I loved the book, and one of the things that I really enjoyed about it is that a lot of times people write the niche book about autism, but I felt that you really covered all your bases. We got to go on your biomedical journey with you. We got to go on your journey of finding ABA and finding the right ABA. And even down to the point of deciding at one point, are we doing DTT or NET? What's driving the bus? I really felt like you took us along so that it was... didn't you feel this way too,
Yes.
Nancy? So much of it reminded me of our journey, although there were things that were different, right? And I felt that I was with you, that I was transported, that I was with you in South Africa as you were going through this. It's very visual, the book. I could see all of it. It would make a good movie. But you refused to give up on your son, David, even though you were pregnant with another child. And I can't imagine how tough that was, giving birth to the second child. But he, as Nancy said before we had you on, ended up being neurotypical. And then, of course, you had your third son. And shock of shock, we don't want to give the whole book away, but you ended up having to go through this twice. Tell us a little bit about when your second child was diagnosed, Ilana.
When Aaron, who's my third son, was also diagnosed with autism, we were absolutely terrified. This time, we had 10 years of research under our belt. So we were really going to war with the right ammunition. I must say that I always explain to people, I have 3 boys. My oldest, David, is now 17 years old. He was diagnosed with autism at 22 months, and he still wrestles with autism every day. When he was diagnosed, Shannon, as you mentioned earlier, I was pregnant with my second, who escaped. God had mercy. And my second son, Ellie, escaped an autism diagnosis. received an autism diagnosis. But this time, we started applied behavior analysis, ABA, when he was 17 months for 7 hours a day. And we were brave enough to take the right medical decisions. And we beat autism, Shannon. We beat autism, and we got our boy back. We rescued autism. We rescued Aaron from the clutches of autism.
You say in the book a lot of the things you learned from your journey with David helped you save Aaron.
Absolutely. With David, we were walking on the autism road for the first time. And as parents, we are always so afraid to take the wrong decision. But you, Shannon and Nancy, you both know the difficult decisions that we as parents are faced with on a daily basis when we have to take decisions on what our treatment course is going to be. So with David, we were a lot more cautious. We weren't as brave. But when it came to Aaron, David was 10 years old, and David was severely autistic. So we had watched the David movie. We knew what we stood to lose. When it came to battling autism for Aaron, we were much braver.
Well, and as if that's not enough, I mean, going through this with 2 sons, you and your husband have started something that's called the Star Academy, and you have changed the way autism is treated in South Africa. Tell us a little bit about how many locations there are for Star Academy and how many children you guys treat on a daily basis.
We have a number of locations around South Africa. In a city called Johannesburg, we have 6 locations. In Pretoria, that's an hour drive from Johannesburg. We also have a facility in Durban, and we are starting children on our ABA programs in Cape Town. We also service other countries in Africa. We work with children in Ghana, Zimbabwe, Mauritius, and over the years, our services are being sought after by many families on the African continent. I just want to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet and CARD, because if it wasn't for their guidance and training, we would not be able to help these children in Africa. It is because we learned from CARD that we are able to provide the best quality ABA programs to these families. And so I want all the clinicians at CARD to know that it's because of the hard work that you've done over the years that you've reached Africa. You help children around the globe. But if it was not for you, we would not be able to have the impact we've made on the African continent.
That's great.
Well, I'm sure that they will all appreciate hearing that. But I also want to point out that not only do you have the Star Academies, but that you also began a charity, the Canaries of Tembisa, because you found that there was a village that's very hard hit by autism, and there is no funding, there is no hope of funding, and you refuse to let those children languish. And so tell our viewers a little bit about your Canaries of Tembisa.
I was approached by the psychology department of the Tembisa Hospital. Tembisa is an underprivileged area in a community very close to Johannesburg. It's about a 45-minute drive from where I live, and they asked me for help because they were seeing so many autistic children. They were sending them home every day with no help. Their speech therapists, their occupational therapists weren't able to deal with the challenging behaviors. And Nancy and Shannon, these children were only granted 1 hour of speech therapy and 1 hour of occupational therapy once a month. So can you imagine this? I had a meeting with the team at the hospital, and it was a very sobering experience for me because here I was, sad about my life with autism in but I was privileged. I had the finances, and I had what I needed, the support to give my children the best chance at life. And when I heard about the families and the mothers in Tembisa, it really touched my heart deeply, and I wanted to be very sure that we were going to help them, because we're talking about parents who are struggling to put food on their table, parents who don't live in a brick home. You know, they live in we call them shacks. So they don't have proper running water. To raise an autistic child under these conditions can be very, very challenging. We partnered with a hospital, and our Tembisa outreach program, which we call the Yellow Canaries Project, has now been going for almost 3 years, and we are able to place children on ABA programs where they're receiving 7 hours a day of ABA. Through this program, we were also able to create job opportunities for young students living in the area. So it's really been a successful project. We have a very long waiting list, and we have many underprivileged communities around South Africa. So we hope in the coming months that we will extend this project to other families who desperately need our help.
That's amazing that you were able to pay it forward. The benefits that happened to your sons, that you were able to pay it forward and do this charity. Truly amazing.
And you can hear about this and so many other things in her book, Saving My Sons. It really is an amazing read. You won't be able to put it down. Following the journey of this amazing family and all the things that they did and tried in their trial and error. So, Ilana, where can they purchase the book?
At the moment, the book is available on Amazon. The ebook is available, and it's also possible to pre-order the hard copy. The hard copy is going to be available from the end of October, but it is possible to pre-order in the meantime, and if you would like the ebook, it is currently available on Amazon.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you
Ilana.
so much. We just admire you, and we're thrilled that you had the time to be with us. Someday soon, you and I are going to be on the same continent, one way or the other. I can't wait to meet you in person.
Shannon, your show is amazing. We have so many families in South Africa that watch and that learn so much from you. You are an absolute inspiration. And Nancy, to speak to you today has been an absolute treat. You are a warrior mother. I cannot wait for the day that I'm sitting around the table having a coffee with both of you. Thank you for the opportunity for being on your show today and for hosting me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ilana.
Give our love to your entire family, okay? I think we lost
Yeah,
you.
okay.
But in any case, Saving My Sons, believe me, it's a really worthwhile read. And especially for those of you who have children with apraxia.
Right.
There's a whole section about apraxia that and they've had tremendous results. So,
Right, her son was nonverbal,
Yeah.
David, and now he is communicating.
Yeah. So, and there isn't a lot out there for the apraxia
No.
families, and I think it's worthwhile for everybody, but especially the apraxia families.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to be back with Vince Redmond. Stick with us. I got to do the U-turn around the thing? Okay. So, Kelby, do I want the north entry or the south, or does it matter? Okay. Are we doing curbside bag check? Which way, Kelby? Left? Yeah. Okay. Kelby, can I go through the TV? Yeah, I have a toll tag.
Then you go through the tape.
Okay. What do you do that, like, you could just spend 2 hours doing and have it suck all your time?
Oh, I like to look up interesting research articles on animal behavior. Found a really interesting European papers on how wolves are different than dogs that I read last week that were very, very interesting.
Very cool.
Because I've always talked about a brain can be more social emotional or a brain can be more cognitive.
Yeah.
And the wolf turns out to be more cognitive. And we've bred the dog to be more social emotional.
How fascinating is that?
Very, very interesting. The wolves were very good at watching another wolf solve a problem.
We were talking a little bit about television before, and I cannot believe that what you said to me, what you like to watch on television.
Star Trek, I was a Star Trek fan when I was a teenager. I liked the Star Trek Next Generation. I was watching that when I was working on my PhD in the 80s.
And so
Total Star Trek fan.
what's your favorite series, and what's your favorite character, and what's your favorite
Mr.
episode?
Spock was my favorite character.
Love it. And what's favorite episode? This guy is
Let
going
me
to hate
see.
me.
There was a lot of good. My favorite Star Trek movie was the one with the whales.
Yes.
Yeah, I really
mine
liked
too.
that Star Trek movie.
And so sad that we lost Leonard Nimoy this year.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that you like to watch television. Do you like to go to the movies too?
Oh yes, I went and saw Gravity. There's certain movies that have to be seen in a theater, like Gravity and Avatar.
Yes.
I wanted to see Inside Out in the theater. I really liked that movie.
What did you think of that?
I liked it. I think about how the emotions interact.
I gotta be honest, I had said after that I thought that it was going to be a great tool for people to show kids on the autism spectrum about perspective taking.
Yeah.
About what it's like in other people's heads.
Well, no, it's more like how the emotions inside your own head sort of conflict with each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love The Wizard of Oz, and I love the idea of the ruby slippers. She had the way back home. She just didn't know she had it.
Yeah.
You see, and I think that's a metaphor for a lot of things. A lot of people have the ruby slippers, but they don't know they have them. They don't know they have the key that can open up the door to a lot of really great stuff.
So what would you say was your ruby slipper?
Well, I had, when some opportunities came up, like when I designed those dip vats, that was a major breakthrough for my business. And when the head of the feed yard came up to me and asked me if I'd do it, I said, give me 3 weeks. You know, a lot of people would have been too scared to walk through the door. Now, this is pre-internet, and I knew it would take me 3 weeks to get some of the information I needed, especially on concrete reinforcement, to design the dip vats.
But you did it.
I did it. I was on the phone the next day to the USDA to get the drawings on the concrete reinforcement.
Wow. So I want to journey back to childhood for just a second and talk about friends, because a lot of times people ask about friends. Who was your best friend?
When I was in elementary school, one of my best friends was a girl named Eleanor. And she was the first girl in elementary school to get to take wood shop instead of cooking. And I was the second girl in our school to get to take wood shop. So we like to make stuff. It's all about making stuff. And I had good friends in high school. Even though I got bullied and teased, I got friends who shared interests. Riding horses together, doing electronics together, doing model rockets together, doing stuff together with other students.
So you found, like your mom says you found your tribe.
Yeah, and you've got to get them in doing things with other people.
And you did a lot of theater, and did you sing as a kid?
Yeah, I did. One of the problems I was singing is I couldn't synchronize my rhythm with somebody else's rhythm.
Do you still have a hard time doing that?
I still have a hard time doing that.
Because we were going to ask you if you wanted to sing something in the car with us.
Well, I think maybe we'll skip that.
Great question. But the one question people always ask us is they want to know if you've ever been in love.
No, never have.
And you don't feel like you're missing anything.
I've seen so much turmoil in so many marriages that I haven't really seen a situation that would be a good model.
And yet you gave me really good marriage advice.
Because I'm a good problem solver. You have to take the problem and cut it down. And in engineering, you have to find the root cause of a problem.
What do you think is your secret to your success as a teacher?
Well, presenting things really clearly.
Yeah.
That's really important. Making things interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's also important that it's something in a class that a student can take home and use. I teach a class in cattle behavior and handling, and I've got a lot of students that are pre-vet that are going to go in the dog and cat. Probably won't be handling any cattle. But I said, you want to design this corral system because it's visual problem solving. You have to figure out how to do it. It's not a cookbook. And then I have my internet project where they can pick out anything in animal behavior, and I make them dig into a narrow subject that I have to approve because I want them digging into Google Scholar and PubMed, Science Direct, and the other databases. They got to learn how to find stuff online, and I'm finding about 2/3 of the students are not very good at that. How about this? Make magazine. This is the kind of thing that a lot of kids on the spectrum need to be doing, the cool stuff in here. really
Make
interesting.
Magazine is going to love that you
Make
did that.
Magazine. That's a wonderful magazine. And okay, yes, and they're resurrecting old satellites from mission control and an abandoned McDonald's. That's the kind of stuff I really like. These are the kind of magazines we need to get in school. Make Magazine, Business Week, Science, Nature, Wired. We got to show kids out there. There's all kinds of super interesting stuff out there. But if they don't see it, then they don't know about it. I like to geek out on construction sites. I like to salivate over all the equipment they've got that we didn't have, like really cool man lifts and nice scaffolding. We didn't have any of that stuff.
You didn't?
No, we didn't.
What did you guys have? A
Horrid,
compass?
Horrid ladders that were really dangerous is what we had.
I'm going to pull up right here. Okay. We're going to get your stuff out. Yep. Put your back up. Oh. We have to get the mic back from you too. Oh, you took it off already. You're good. That's attached to mine.
And as promised, we have Vince Redmond joining us. We want to dive right in because we're low on time here.
Yeah, so Vince, we asked if we could talk with you today about it's hard for parents when they have a child on the spectrum, especially when they're doing ABA. They don't know when they're, because the therapist will want to push our kids. And sometimes they'll cry. We don't know when is too much. Like a child gets tired. When is it too much? And when is it our anxiety and us holding them back?
Yeah.
So what advice can you give to parents who are feeling like, I don't want to push my child?
I think that's a longer conversation than just in the moment, right? I think a lot of this proceeds with the orientation and talking to them about ABA and how repetition and exposure to treatment and higher levels of treatment is what is the success of ABA and how children relearn or that's the way they learn new concepts, new ideas, new skills. So I think this conversation has to start very early on, even before we might see that the child is working harder, at times might be working too hard, so that we can minimize some of the misunderstanding on parents' end on, oh, they're bored, or they've done this too many times, or I don't want them to have to do that again and again and again, because that's the basis of ABA, is that repetition and exposure to stimuli and the treatment. So I think some early education is absolutely necessary. And then as we get going into the treatment, I think good communication about typical daily events are essential, right? Is the child ill? Did the child not sleep last night? Have they not eaten? Those types of things need to be communicated and put into consideration, not only by the family, of course, but by the clinicians as well. The clinicians need to be aware of some of these naturally occurring things so that they can adapt their treatment plan for the day, or maybe look at doing things in a different order so that the child's motivation will increase, so their attention will increase, and they'll have a better session. So I think all along, we start with early education and communication with families, not only about ABA, but how intensive the services are. We want to minimize any distractions or maybe overloading them with other activities that they're going to do, because I think sometimes it's a belief that having another activity might increase their motivation, where sometimes it actually just increases the amount of frustration they have. And then I think the day-to-day communication on, how they're feeling, what's going on, is essential to make any, last-minute adaptations that might be necessary.
I think it's really hard for a parent, because our gut, whenever our kid starts crying or we see that they're tired, we go, we should stop now.
Right.
And often the clinicians will be like, no, we're going to be mindful and we're going to keep going on.
Right.
It's okay for your child to get frustrated. It's okay for your child to be tired. But we want to keep making that progress. And it's very hard because we tell parents all the time, we go with your gut, right? But there are times when our gut will try to protect our child from progress. I'm guilty as charged. I had said to you in an email yesterday, Vince, that, I would like to just duct tape my son to the wall every day so that he'll be safe and leave him there. But every day I have to let the leash out a little bit and have him do something that I'm not entirely comfortable with. And it has gotten easier the better he has done. But there were years in the beginning where my son didn't talk and I was like, I don't want to do this. But what do we, I know I had people talking to me the whole time saying, if you do that, it's you holding him back. That worked for me. I don't know that works for other parents. What's your opinion on that, Vince?
Well, and I think it's that communication, right? It's talking to you about not only the science behind ABA, but what are you experiencing? Let's talk through what you're experiencing as well, right? No parent likes to see their child struggle. We don't like to see them cry. We don't like to see them whine. We don't like to see them suffer. We don't like to see them get things wrong and fail, right? So talking through it with your clinician is absolutely important so that we can work through our anxieties and sometimes understandings of things so that the clinician can also understand where we're coming from. Right? Because as a parent, that's something that we don't like to hear. However, the failing and the missing and the getting things wrong is how they're learning. That is the most powerful learning tool that they have, is getting something wrong and not being able to get their desired response, and then doing something right to get their desired response, and then continuing to do that over and over again. So part of the learning is the failing, is the crying, is the frustration that comes with it. Now, of course, there's limits to it, and we don't want to, get the child so upset that they're no longer learning. But part of the learning does involve some failing and some crying and some whining and some unhappy times, because that's where they're actually learning, because they're not getting their desired result by the behavior or by the action that they're doing, and we're teaching them to get it. They do something different. So I think sometimes along with that early education is that empathetic understanding that it's tough for everyone to see the kids cry. It's tough for us as the clinicians to see the kids cry. And, as a team, we get through it by good communication with each other, by good understanding of one another, and then also understanding what the goals are.
Yeah. Vince, I know we have to let you go. We can't thank you enough, and I'm sorry that we didn't leave enough time to go into this further with you, but thank you so much for being with us.
No problem. Have a great rest of the week.
Okay, you too, Vince.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was the amazing Vince Redmond, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist. He's the director of family services at CARD. For years was a behavior therapist and is now an LMFT. I just wanted to say, there's a video that's viral right now that my husband showed me, and it shows a little boy. I don't think he's on the spectrum. I think he's a neurotypical kid. But he is in a karate class, and they're trying to get him to, karate chop the board. And he doesn't do it.
Right.
He kind of chimps out on it a little bit, and then he does it, and it kind of hurts his hand, and he doesn't really want to do it. And the other kids, and these kids are probably like 6, 7 years old, the other kids start chanting, do it. And he's like, no, I don't want to do it. And he's visibly in distress. And mom in me is like, stop it. Don't make him do that. Knock it off. Like, I literally want to go over and go, what are you doing? This is pressure and peer pressure. And the other boys are like chanting, going, do it. And they're all gathering around him. And he's like, I don't want to. And the teacher's like, come on. But finally he does it. And they all gather around him and they're cheering. And what it pointed out for me, and my husband was like, I know, don't you want to get in there and stop it? But the truth is that kid, and that my husband said this, he said that kid now is going to remember that day forever as the day that he pushed through and did something and accomplished something. And if they had stopped it, he would remember it the rest of his life as that's the day that I couldn't get it done, and that everybody was like, oh, you quit. And that I do think that it's important that we acknowledge that there are things that we're going to ask our kids to do that are hard. And I was saying to you beforehand that, you know, the thing that was said to me that really resonated with me is talking about, and I share this with parents all the time, when our kids started to learn how to walk and they would fall down and sometimes they would hit their head and you'd have to get bumpers for the coffee table and you'd go, you know, how is this ever going to work? Is my child ever going to be able to walk downstairs? And I became concerned for my son's head, you know, but there was never a moment when I as a parent went, okay, that's enough.
Right. He's not going to learn to walk.
It. Let's get a wheelchair in here because that's too hard. And the reason why is because we all know that it's this difficult phase and that they're going to get to that walking. Not all of us, most of us know that. There are some children who don't walk. I have to be mindful of that. But most of us are like, no, I really think, I believe that this is happening. And so we have to get through this difficult phase and we get through it. We don't know that when we're starting ABA.
No.
And so we don't know what the resolution looks like until a couple of times when our kids have achieved victory. And I think that helps us through those difficult times. Early on, my son had a lot of issues and we took him someplace. I've mentioned this before on the show, and he had a helium balloon. And somehow the helium balloon got let go and it sailed off into the outer stratosphere, which was very upsetting to me because those end up in the ocean and they're not good fish. So I was also like, oh no, not as much about you lost your balloon because balloons are replaceable, right? But he read my reaction plus the loss of his balloon and was traumatized. So that anytime we took him someplace after that and we got him a balloon and he wanted a balloon, the rest of the event was shot because he would clutch the balloon and you know, don't touch me and to the point where he would try to get underneath tables and save his balloon, and it would be this horrible anxiety-ridden thing. And we went to an event and he wanted a balloon and I said, we're not getting it until the end. And the therapist that was with us was like, okay. And then we got the balloon at the very end and he, you know, and the therapist said, what's happening here? And I said, don't touch him. Don't touch him. Don't, you know, you're going to upset him. Don't do anything to make the balloon go. We'll lose the rest of the day. Don't, as we do as parents, you know, we were used to this mode. And the therapist was like, oh, is there an issue with balloons? And I said, we're not, you know, no, don't even say it. Don't even. And he was like, okay, so tomorrow when I show up at your house, I'm going to have a bunch of balloons.
Right.
And we're going to one by one pop them and let them go.
Desensitize him.
And I was like, no, we are not. Why would you do that to him? You don't understand. He'll be upset for the rest of the day. He might be upset for the rest of the week. You'll like, no, we're not doing that. And he was like, oh, we are. Because someday, you know, you want him to be able to go places.
Right, be around balloons.
And be around balloons
Exactly.
and not have the rest of his day ruined. And I was like, we'll just cut balloons out of our lives. Right? But we are like that about different things.
I know we are.
Because I think I was like, you deliberately want to upset him?
Right. I'm like,
What's
that was
wrong with
sirens
you?
for Wyatt. Yeah.
Right? And but then when he was like, no, where do you picture him in 5 years?
Right.
Do you picture him still being this way with the balloon? Are you under the impression that this is magically going to sort itself out on its own? Like, wouldn't you like him to be free of this anxiety of the balloon being let go and know what you know, which is we can get another balloon? And I was like, well, yeah, but if we have to traumatize him, we're not going to traumatize him. We have a method. We're going to do this. It was hard for me. Like, I don't think I was able to be there that day, or I blacked it out because I don't remember it. But I remember saying, I don't want you to do it. It had to be talked into it. I just want to put that out there for parents. If you're starting and it feels sometimes like, oh no, we're pushing our child, and what about his childhood? I just got to say, you know, we just know so many parents who don't give their kids the full hours, and then later on they say, well, what could have been, right?
Right.
So I hope that nobody wants to traumatize a child, right? But if you're trying to put them through something to help them to be released of something, to get, like the little boy in the video, get to the karate chop so that he gets to the good thing, that's the thing you're always working towards. Not the, oh, you're hysterical because I just popped your balloon. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. It's hard.
It is hard. Very hard for
Very
us
hard.
parents.
All right. Well, we're out of time, but
We are.
I wanted to take a second to talk about who's on the show next week.
Monday.
So On Monday, we have Gail Noble. She's an author and a life coach. On Tuesday, we got a best of. On Wednesday, we will have Evelyn Kung with us. On Thursday, autism expert Laura Smith will be with us. And on Friday, you and I will be talking with Kristen Roth, who's the Chief Marketing Officer for the Autism Society of America. They're getting ready to do their Aut Fest again.
Oh, okay.
In September in Orange County. This year they're showing films all around the subject of siblings and family.
Okay.
So we're going to be talking with her a little bit about that.
That'll be good. Very interesting.
It's going to be a very different event this year at Aut Fest.
Okay.
So we'll be talking with Kristen about that.
All right, good.
All right. So
lot
we hope
going
you
on.
guys have a good weekend, and we'll see you again on Monday. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me.
And yourselves a hug from me. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye for now.